7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 99.
Ordinance declaring certain city-owned property as surplus and directing the comptroller to dispose of said property. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Garrett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember December. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 99 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 100.
Ordinance amending the code of the City of Troy to add Chapter 145, Domestic Partnerships. Council President Mantello, Councilmember December, Councilmember Parator.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Gully. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Parator. Discussion?
Council President.
Yes,
I just
Councilmember Parator.
I just want to thank our City Clerk Mara for all her work and leadership on this. I think it's a wonderful thing for Troy. Proud to have that.
Thank you.
And I think we can all echo, Mara brought it to our attention, and it definitely is a step in the right direction. And hopefully we can continue moving forward initiatives like this in some of the other departments. So, yes, Councilmember.
Thank our Deputy Clerk, Rachel
Yes,
Carter, who did a
thank
tremendous amount of work on this as well.
Right,
Yes,
thank you.
Put it on the record.
Yep, good point. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 100 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 101.
Ordinance approving the settlement of tax certiorari proceedings instituted by ampersand Mount Ida Hydro LLC on the assessment roll of the City of Troy. Councilmember Kennedy at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember December. I know that Rick Morrissey is here, and so is Steve Strikeman. Rick, is there any way we can try to get the company maybe to partner with us on some interpretive kiosk signage up there? I think it'd be awesome. And obviously the 3 acres, it was a concern only because Councilmember Cummings had initiated that conversation and negotiation. I know that Dan Vincelette sent us some paperwork. Do you feel comfortable now with what Dan did in terms of the 3-acre exchange? And
the only concern that had been expressed to me was that there, whether or not the
Rick, could you
city's,
speak in the mic, please?
I'm sorry, with regard to the city's liability with respect to accidents that might occur on that land.
right.
And there's a part of the general obligations law. I believe it's section 9-103, but I'm not completely certain of that. I didn't look it up beforehand. I apologize.
That's okay.
In any event, what it means is that if we open that land to recreation, specifically for hiking, that we're well insulated from liability for accidents that occur on the land. I understand there might be some structures on the land that we might have to take care of. I don't know if they pose any danger to the general public or not. So,
What type of, I have not, and if I had time, I just had no time to tour that land. And this is my concern. The project is awesome. It's a great project. And I also know that the negotiated settlement is also good. I'm concerned about the 3 acres that have we surveyed it, and I didn't know about structures. Monica, do you know anything about structures on the property? And
I was just advised that there might be an old retaining wall of some sort there.
There's probably some foundations down there.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a building or
And
anything.
Ashley can probably give you more detail.
Yeah, there's basically old walls from the previous hydro facility.
no environmental concerns? Were we able to assess that, or? I mean, you gotta know, I'm not putting up a blockage here. I like this
So I think,
a lot.
the challenge is we're actually doing a tax cert
I know.
resolution right now,
Yeah.
or an ordinance, whatever this might
Yes.
be, an ordinance. So I think we're blurring a little thing, like some stuff right now. And I think that was my general concern,
Right,
is we're actually trying to do a tax cert
right.
and approve a tax cert, and we're blurring in a project, a city project, that is in process and has been in process for 5 years into the project to get a desired result. So I think what we need to focus on is we have a tax cert in front of us that's giving us 3 acres of land, and then we do have to come up with some planning and some initiatives in order to secure that area and to be able to make sure that our risk and all of those things are being addressed as well. We were aware of just the tax cert piece. We just became aware of this other component with the whole park component of that, and the Narrows being a city project. So there's a lot of work to do on that side of it, especially with the partners that we have. But I think what we need to make sure we focus on, in fact, is we have a tax cert here, not talking, I mean, it's
Well,
really blurred, but what's in front of you is
We
the
still, though,
tax.
have a fiduciary responsibility on the 3 acres. So that's, and yes, this is a tax cert, but the 3 acres are a part of somehow this negotiated settlement, correct?
Well, it was land given back, correct?
Right.
It was land that was given back to us, but
Yeah.
that was a part of the
All I
agreement.
want to make sure is there's no
Oh.
liability on us. That's all, so.
And does that answer the article that you just quoted?
Section 9-103.
Yeah.
9-103 insulates the city from people who fall and injure
Do you
themselves.
mind, Rick? I'm so sorry.
Excuse me, I apologize. People who fall and injure themselves while hiking on the public land, right? As long as it's operated as a park, we're protected
Okay.
from people having, their own
Yeah.
activities on the land.
All I would ask, have the Corp Counsel's office and maybe Monica, if you could keep us posted as this progresses, the cert, I don't have a problem with that. And the 3 acres, I definitely want to see that end up in our hands. But just if you could keep us in the loop and keep us apprised as this progresses, I think that would at least appease my mind. Okay.
It just sounds to me like, that the acquisition of the 3 acres is desirable for the city. Obviously, though, there remains development work to be done
Right.
to further develop it as a park, to install the hiking trails
Yeah.
and things like that, and the signage.
Yeah, we
perhaps.
could apply for grants and things like that, so, good, okay. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
And we have 1 abstain.
Ordinance 101 passes, 6 ayes, 0 noes, and 1 abstention.
Perfect. All right, ordinance 102.
Ordinance authorizing settlement of claim to wit, Cynthia Smith plaintiff versus City of Troy defendant. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 102 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 103.
Ordinance transferring funds within the 2019 sewer fund budget. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
And just for note, this passed finance earlier this evening. Do I have a motion? Motion, Councilmember Garrett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Parator. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 103 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 104.
Ordinance transferring funds within the 2019 water fund budget. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember December. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Parator. Discussion. This also passed finance earlier. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 104 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 105.
Ordinance amending the 2019 general fund budget. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully, Councilmember Parator, motion on the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 105 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 106.
Ordinance amending the 2019 garbage fund budget. Council Member Cummings at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Gully. Do I have a second? Second, Councilmember Garrett. And once again, this was discussed at length earlier at the finance meeting and did pass. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
Ordinance 106 passes, 6 ayes, 1 no.
Ordinance 107.
Ordinance authorizing the city to create a capital project and amending the capital projects fund and general fund budgets to allow funding for said capital project. Council President Mantello, Councilmember Cummings, at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Gully. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Parator. This also passed the finance earlier, and this is firehouse improvements. Further discussion. All in favor? Oh, Councilmember Garrett.
For all the fire houses?
Well, many different improvements.
Okay.
Yes. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Ordinance 107 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 74.
Resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement, memorandum of understanding with the town of Brunswick regarding the Brunswick Meadows Condominium Community Project. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Gully. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Garrett. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Resolution 74 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 76.
Resolution authorizing the execution of a memorandum of understanding by and between the City of Troy and the City of Waterville. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Garrett. Steve Strikeman's here. I know a couple members at the finance meeting had some questions in terms of what the MOU fully is comprised of, how it ties in the waterfront, Taylor Apartments, all of that. Want to give us a quick update?
Sure. So
Thank
this,
you.
so this is basically our third attempt to get this grant passed. We teamed up with Waterville to apply to look at the Congress Street Bridge, which when it was built in 1970, it was Route 2, it was Route 7, it was the main entrance into the city. It is certainly overbuilt now with the creation of the Hoosick Street interstate entrance into the city. So we wanted to look at, as is in the comprehensive plan, how to connect River Street back across and how to tie Waterville to Troy, maybe lane reductions, make it more pedestrian friendly, bicycle friendly. And in Waterville, they are looking at potentially using the bridge to connect to the Hudson River Park. So I don't know how that would be, whether it be via a ramp or via stairs and a bridge like the Hudson River Park down in Hudson River Bridge down in Poughkeepsie. But again, this is a study, so this will look at all those opportunities and create a better linkage between the two cities and make the internal workings of our two cities work better.
And you said Hoosick Street earlier. I know you meant Congress.
No, I said it before the creation of the Hoosick Street
Oh,
debacle.
got it.
So
Okay,
it
all
was
right, cool. Yep, all right. Further discussion, questions? Councilmember Cummings.
First, just wondering if we can replace Waterville with West Troy throughout. No, but so just wanted to get a sense of how you plan to manage the project in conjunction with, is it all going to be on the engineering term? How's your team's relationship with the engineering firm versus Waterville?
So we'll be working with Waterville. They'll be the lead on it. And we will be working together on the creation of an MOU for this, obviously with Department of State participation, and we'll be equal partners in it. And then we'll create the RFP, go out for solicitation, and we'll both be working with the team. So it won't be any more focused over in
in terms of total
Waterville.
design work, there's comparable amounts on either side.
Correct. And we both have the same percentage match.
Right, I saw that. Right.
Yeah,
That was sort of-
15K.
I know they're leading it, but a lot of it is on our side too. So I guess that makes sense that we're
Yeah. I mean, I basically,
contributing the same amount.
I had the grant pretty much mostly written when I reached out to them, and I asked them to manage it for us this year just because of all the other things we're working on, and they were happy to do that, to participate with us.
Great.
And what's the timeline of the RFP? Did you say, Steve?
Well, we'll get this signed, we'll develop it, so I would imagine the RFP would probably go out in February,
Okay.
and hopefully this be something, hopefully something we can kick off by before summer.
Be great.
Yeah.
Be awesome. This would be a great project.
It
And then,
will.
so I take it, then we'll have a plan. We'll be able to apply for CFA or something like that after that.
Right, we'll be able to have some better
Yeah.
cost estimates on what the whole project will cost and some renderings to make a more competitive application.
Perfect.
Council President.
Yeah, Councilmember Cummings.
Does it directly include also connection to our bike trail?
It does. That was in the language, was to make the connection, and our bike trail's only a block away down on Front Street. Yes. And again, that will tie in all with
But
the
certainly-
Taylor Apartments redevelopment, and all of those submissions looked at how to phase any potential redevelopment of Taylor with how the structure exists now and how it may be amended in the future.
Well, this is super exciting and near and dear to my heart, waterfront redevelopment. It's a long time coming, and
That's
I truly appreciate you spearheading this because I know that you've done this over in Schenectady also. So, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 76 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 77.
Resolution confirming the appointment of Ann Rounds to the Troy Industrial Development Authority. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Kennedy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Garrett. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Resolution 77 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 78.
Resolution to proclaim November as Epilepsy Awareness Month. Council President Mantello, Councilmember Cummings.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Garrett. And, I won't read the resolution, but, as many of you know, my son suffers from epilepsy, not every day, but every hour. And there's so much unknown about epilepsy, and sometimes there can really be a stereotype and a stigma, and people really fear of epilepsy and just don't know a lot about it. So hopefully over the next month, people even just go online, folks out there watching just to learn a little bit about epilepsy. And it's not something to be feared of. It's not something to bully kids or bully adults. And it's hopefully something that more and more people become more and more aware of. And it really is truly just a horrific disease. It is just a very, very tough disease. So I just want to thank my colleagues for joining me. And once again, if you don't know anything about it, just take 2 minutes and Google it. It's a really frightful disease. So, Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 78 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 79.
Resolution proclaiming November 2019 Stop Driving While Intoxicated Month in the City of Troy, New York. Councilmember Cummings.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Garrett. Discussion?
Council President?
Councilmember Cummings.
This is an initiative that the state's been doing for a while, really highlighting the dangers of DWI, particularly in holiday season. Thanksgiving and the days around it are often the days when they're the most dangerous days on the road. And so we're certainly just reaching out, making sure that people know there are alternatives. Troy is obviously known to be a really good walkable city, and highlighting the importance of that and the importance of choosing alternatives after you drink.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 79 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
We will now go into the,
Resolution 80.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Deeds.
Resolution appointing commissioners of deeds for the City of Troy. Council President Mantello.
Do I have a motion? Motion, Councilmember Garrett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Parator. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 80 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
We'll now go, yes, Councilmember Cummings.
Sorry, I wanted to jump to the
Yep.
vacancy list for a second
Vacancies.
and just get a report on the engineering aid position, where we're at with that, as well as the computer networks manager.
You said which ones? The engineering aid? So the senior engine, or the engineering aid was a retirement that happened last week. We did go out to canvas for that position. We had 3 applicants for that, 2 of which were qualified. One that we called back for second interview, and she had already taken another job. She was actually from Barton and LaJudas previously. She was great. And then the second one we're still in conversations with. They're an internal candidate. And then in the meantime, we've actually met with CHA, our city engineer, to help us work through that process. We are doing the paving. Obviously, this position handles the utilities, utility coordination with National Grid, Verizon, and Time Warner, as well as the paving program. So we're working through that internally right now, but also with our partner through CHA. They are working with us to develop a brand new paving program so that we can have something already established, so that when we onboard somebody, they can kind of just come on with a new program rather than having to try to learn an old and then transition into new. As far as the Bureau of Information Services, we conducted 2 interviews over the past couple weeks. We are in communication with, as I spoke about at the BIS budget hearing meeting. We did bring in, we've met with a couple consultants who are going to kind of do a little bit of a SWOT analysis on the information program services, so that we can kind of get a good idea. Since we do have vacancies, we are expecting another vacancy in 2020 for retirement, to get a really good idea of what the city has as a whole, what our needs are, what our strengths, what our weaknesses are, and then be able to kind of take a look at that department. A lot of those job descriptions in this department haven't been updated since like the 2000s, early 2000s, and technology, as you know, has changed dramatically. So really kind of get a good understanding. The individual we're working with actually used to be employed by the Center for Internet Security, so really knowledgeable in the government organizations as well as the private sector, so they can kind of really get a good understanding of what we have. A Troy-based company, which is nice. And then they've also been helping us interview, because when you start going into some of the acronyms of that equipment, yeah, you lose me. So they've been actually helping us conduct interviews as well too. So it's been great.
Is there any opening? I know we had talked about this maybe last year, to partner, share services with the county, or
we have
with their IT.
We have continued to ask, and the last I knew, they were doing a audit of their BIS department, and we have not heard since Keith Better left. So the way we're looking at it, and the way that we're kind of working with the consultant, is to actually look to how do we build our own department and then share down. We discussed this at the budget hearing as well. I know you weren't there at that one, but looking to see how we can build. A lot of the challenges with shared services, when we share up, we're the biggest entity in the county, and we try to share up. The county doesn't have similar platforms or similar services that we have as an entity. So if we are able to become a hub and then share to other municipalities that have similar workings as us, they have, City View, they have code enforcement, they have accounting systems, they have the same kind of tax rolls kind of search that we do. It's a little bit easier to share that way. So the hope is that we can actually build up a department. A lot of it is taking a look at the existing systems and the existing titles that we have to make sure that we're actually getting what we want. The 2 candidates we interviewed were great. But I think that there's, some still room to make sure that department's going to be well covered. We're looking for really some visionary people, somebody who's going to be able to plan out. Anasha used the term the innovation director, something similar to that, but still being able to have staff to handle the nuts and bolts. It's a little bit different perspective than what we've done traditionally. So it's a matter of a Fred Miller comment, to slow down to speed up. Which, so we'll look, this group that's coming in to do some short-term stuff for us, we'll actually look at them if we need to do some transitional work with maybe some like a third-party vendor, just to kind of keep us going until we can find that right balance. Then we'll do that as well too. Not looking to disband the department. I really want to make sure that doesn't get out there, because people get a little wonky about that. We're not looking to disband it. We're actually looking to build it up and make it better.
Further discussion, questions? Yes.
With all these vacancies, how are we going about filling them? Is that, I get it posted online, or people can apply, or just like text-based?
So these are actual vacancies. Sometimes there'll be challenges like this, like the engineering aid. That's a vacancy, but we've already canvassed for that. So sometimes it might be just because it's vacant, we're in the hiring process, or it might be something like that. Like when you look at the police department and the firefighters, those kinds of things, they're actively going through their recruiting lists. I know the police department is going through the recruiting lists, doing their testing and all that kind of stuff as well too. A lot of these we work off of lists. If there's already established lists and they're viable lists that we can work off of, we'll start interviewing off of those first. If we don't get a good candidate or we don't have a mandatory list according to civil service law, then we can open up. We're also anticipating openings. Like I know we just put a big push out I reached out to several of my personal contacts throughout the community for the account clerk series, good entry-level position. To have people come into, we are going to have probably 2 openings in that, and we have no list. So that's an immediate need, and that's a transactional need. That's somebody for the treasurer's office. That's somebody for various departments. A lot of interaction. So I reached out to DeQuetta, and I reached out to some other partners that who have a lot of contacts within the city that can help spread that word. And I know the mayor's office reached out to the pastors, and so really a great position. I mean, the benefits, you know what I mean? So I think that it's a lot of, we're not getting a lot of applications in. Could be several factors, you know what I mean? But I think a lot of the challenge in the capital region is that the private sector is so robust right now that, we're even hearing it from the private sector is having a hard time getting staff, hiring staff as well too. So we're just going to be that way, but if not more. So, okay.
Council President.
Councilmember
So
Cummings.
just specifically, for example, there are 3 motor equipment operator lights and those kind of things. Do we have lists for those? Are there?
Some of them we do.
Track for those kind of
Some
things?
of them they do. Some of them are competitive and some of them are non-competitive based on on their requirements. I will tell you right now, the biggest challenge that I know DPW and DPU are having for equipment operators and drivers is that nobody wants to get their CDL.
Even
the private
sector.
The private
is having
sector.
a
That's
tough
why you
time.
see a lot of signing bonuses. Like
Yeah.
Fane's got signing bonuses.
DOT is having a tough time.
It's because they don't. Because there's drug testing and some other things involved with CDLs. It's actually, I have to tell you, we worked when we did the CSEA contract, we actually changed the language where if somebody came to us with a permit, we would take them with their permit, allow them to get their time and their experience through our equipment, and then they would be able to take the test. And we're actually incorporated if they, for their licensing and stuff like that, we're covering the cost of that for their renewals. Just to make sure that we're retaining that. It's really, really difficult to find somebody who has an existing CDL. You're hopeful that you can get regular drivers or maybe laborers who have licenses that want to go and move up throughout the system. But it's been a challenge, but that's all over. All of them are having problems.
Thank you, Monica. I'm going to ask Andy to come up. He apprised me of an issue earlier today with our ambulance billing company, and he wanted to inform the council what's going on.
Yes, so most of you see when RFPs go out, we terminated the contract with our third-party ambulance billing company. Per the contract, it's a 90-day period once we terminate. We terminated, I think the letter was dated October 31st, if I remember correctly, right around then. The last day that they'll be in service is January 31st. We will be going out to RFP. That will be out. We're hoping on Tuesday with responses back the beginning of December, and ideally have legislation for a new contract to the council on December 19th is our time frame on this.
So we may need a finance special meeting.
Finance
in
special
December.
meeting December 19th if we stay on calendar with our target dates that we kind of worked out today.
And it is officially ceased. correct?
So we had to send a letter terminating, the contract said without cause, 90 days, or without, I can't remember the exact word.
Right.
Termination without, well, it's for cause or without cause. We did without cause, it's 90 days, and we'll find someone new.
Council President,
Councilmember Gully?
can you give us the reason why you terminated the contract?
Yes, so it's a couple reasons, all kind of goes back to the same thing. Collections are down
Okay.
this year. I think the bigger piece of it is it was not the level of service that we anticipated. It just, I kind of alluded to it a little bit at the August finance meeting when I went through the numbers and where we were at with it. They were down. There's no denying that we are a small fish in a big pond for them. Right? They're billing New York Presbyterian Hospital. There were some things that happened with paperwork that, in my opinion personally is my office shouldn't be responsible. If you're the third-party billing company who specializes in this type of stuff, the city comptroller's office shouldn't be the one in concert with the fire department filling out renewal forms. That's what we pay you to do. And it's examples like that. And it just,
It's like the parking enforcement folks.
right.
They
So,
do it all.
So you look at FBS handles everything for parking. So it's just a situation where we just felt we needed to do this.
So maybe in the next RFP, we could have maybe some more direct clarity on what we expect from the vendor and stipulations on what their responsibilities are, so they know right up front what they're getting into, so they can't try to slack off on us or put us lower on the list after they're in the contract.
That's very clearly written now in the RFP.
Great, okay.
So I just want to make the council aware. I mean, obviously that contract was passed last year. So, when you see the RFP goes out, that's what's driving it.
Thank you.
And for the record also, I did ask Andy when Benetech, that contract expires also, because I've been asked by a couple of folks in the city, and that expires December 31st of 2020.
Correct. So I would anticipate, that RFP going out first quarter, second quarter of 2022. And that'll be Health Insurance Administration and Workers' Comp Administration, and we'll kind of go from there based off the responses.
Councilmember Gully.
So in the past, when you put out that RFP, has Benetech been the only one to respond? Do we have other
No,
responses?
so that RFP, the last time we put that out health insurance or workers' comp or both. If I remember right, there were, don't hold me to it, maybe 9 responses.
Yeah, there was a lot.
It was heavy on the workers' comp side, moderate on the health side, and there were maybe there was one other company who did both.
So we can put it out as a package?
So we'll put it out the same way would be my anticipation.
So you'll give them a choice.
One, the other, or both. So that's how it will at least be the same framework of what it was the last time. We haven't gotten to that RFP yet.
Keep improving on that.
Yeah.
And, just to tie all this up while we have Andy here, Andy, I really, really think has really brought the department into the 21st century. He's doing an awesome job. We met with the state comptroller today, and the state comptroller highlighted a couple issues, but when you read the letter that the state comptroller sent you, all in all, it's a very positive letter. And I know that Andy's department, Monica, the whole team has put a lot of time and effort into the reporting and things to that. And you really have done a fantastic job. So the more you can apprise us, keep us in the loop, the better. So thank you.
Thank you. And if anyone has any questions, obviously, about the letter, just let me know, please.
Yep. And Andy also is going to get us on the bonding, and it's not going to be, I know, tomorrow, but what we've bonded, how much we've spent to date, projects, all of that. Okay.
Anticipated bonds?
No, this is more what
So
we have.
so what it'll look like is what's out right now, and I want to show the council too. And we talked about a little bit at the budget hearing, but where we're going in 2020, because that number is high. A lot of it's the seawall, and we're, what the plan is for 2020, because it's kind of already all laid out with our fiscal advisor and bond counsel.
Yep.
So we're working with them on doing that.
Thank you, Andy.
Awesome. Thank you,
Thank
Andy.
you.
Appreciate
Thanks.
everything you do.
We'll open it up to the final public forum. If anyone would like to come up and speak on any issue on the agenda, minus Eric Umking. Hi, Eric.
Sure, it's a trip, Ben, watch out.
Hi, Eric.
I'd like to thank everybody for voting for those firehouse improvements. They're much needed. I'd like to talk about health insurance, right? We just went through arbitration. The city of Schenectady for a family plan pays 25% of what our guys pay for a family plan. The city of Albany pays 2/3 of what our guys pay for a family plan. Half the co-pays, no payments in retirement. I think we need to look at and overhaul our health insurance to see why these places can do it way cheaper than we're paying. There's a definite problem here. We need to look into it, see what companies they're using. But there's a definite problem here if we're paying four times the amount for a family plan that the guy in Schenectady is.
Yep.
All right. I would hope that would be included before we put something out to bid,
Okay,
or maybe get all the unions in the city together and discuss something.
Yeah. it's a good
But,
point. Yep.
Can you look into it?
We can look into it as a group. The unions are willing to work with the city on it.
Okay.
But it needs to be a collaborative effort if everybody's going to work on it.
Okay.
All right. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Eric, thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the council? Anything going on in your neighborhood? All right, we'll close the final public forum. Are there any announcements? Awesome. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, I have an announcement.
Yes.
Can we actually just have in the Dignity Falls folks? They're having
They
the final Dignity Falls work day this Saturday. Is it Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday.
Second-
Saturday.
every second Saturday.
Saturday, my birthday.
And Asha turns
My
45.
birthday. Exactly. Something like that.
And Sharon
Okay,
turns
um,
55.
And Monica, just for the record, where's the mayor?
Oh, he had an event.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion, Councilmember Garrett, do I have a second? Second, Councilmember Parator, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Beautiful. We'll see you next week.
Oh, what a pleasure.
Budget. Not a lot of activity on this